Welcome back to Newsmaker Live. We have the leadership of the CSA with us this evening, the President, Ms. Mary Isaac, and also the First Vice President, Mr. Wilfred Pierre. Yes, I almost put Pierre Wilfred. We're going to take your calls right now because I know that you have a lot of questions to ask. We'll just take your question to them. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Oh, doing fine.
Okay, Mr. Pierre, I have a couple of questions, Mr. Moderator. I hope you'll give me a bit.
Okay, yeah, I'll just ask the questions and we'll wait for.
No, but I would have follow-ups.
Go ahead with your question, please, sir.
Okay, Mr. Pierre, on the program on Radio St. Lucia, you remember you asked a caller, can you name any country in the Caribbean or in the world that has awarded increase to public servants and they go bankrupt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we mentioned that.
And they go bankrupt. And inflation. And that caused increase in inflation.
I didn't say they went bankrupt.
No, you asked me. I called you and I told you, right, that public servants, the IMF and the World Bank have said this, and government has to be very careful as to how they go about doing negotiations and award increases to public servants. And you tell me, you asked a question, and I gave you the answer, and I told you Grenada.
Okay.
Yes,
Right. Now, do you know, as we speak now, that Grenada has defaulted, right, at the World Bank, and they have been struck out of the World Bank?
Yes, caller,
You know that, Mr. Pierre?
I haven't heard that, but I'm just trying to understand the point you're making.
No, because I want to reiterate my point I made the last time when I spoke to you, right, that public servants, when awarded increases that the countries cannot afford, they actually go bankrupt. So Grenada is an example now. Let me ask you, were you part of the negotiating team who helped negotiate increases for senior public servants?
For senior public servants?
No, I wasn't.
Was CSA part of it?
No.
CSA was never a part of it?
No. The grade 19s to 21, if I can recall, they were the ones that had negotiated on their own behalf.
And they asked for advice, I think.
Right. CSA was never a part of it?
No. In fact,
Okay, is that the only question, caller?
I have one more question.
Okay, well, ask the question, please, so we can get somebody else on the line.
Okay, Mr. Pierre, were you a beneficiary of over $140,000 in benefits in the last the negotiation with the government?
It seems you know my business very good. In what context you talking about? Is it
after the last set of negotiation when senior public servants got 36.5%?
Yeah, but I was a senior officer at that time. I was a grade 19 at that time. So by right, I should be benefiting from that increase.
So did members on the GMT?
At that time, Mr. Pierre, at that time, what did you do to do anything beneficial to your lower grade members that you're talking about now? Did you do anything at that time?
But I was part of the union. In fact, even the 14.5%.
All right, caller, thanks a lot.
Caller, even the 14.5%, I was the one that was responsible for putting the argument of the union to the government negotiating team. I did the economic analysis to show that how the purchasing power of members had been eroded. I did that during the time of when they had the 14.5 increase. That had nothing to do with the grade 19 to 21. In fact, I was the only public servant in grade 19 that went on strike during that time, you know. And when you look at the increases that the grade 19s to 21 received, it was as a result of the various increases that took place down the road before. Because what it did, it made a grade 18 getting much more money than a grade 19. So there was an anomaly that exists. So the Salaries Review Commission, in their wisdom, offered an increase for grade 19s to 21. I think it was a 43%, 46%.
To maintain that gap.
But I was responsible for the protests and to do the economic analysis and to liaise with the GNT so that the members, as you indicated, at the lower grades could have gotten the increase.
We have another call. Please go ahead with your question, caller.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I just wanted.
Please don't listen to us in your television set. Turn it off, please, and speak to us.
Okay, just a minute. Yes, I was just wondering about that transport allowance. I think you're treading on dangerous ground. If a man gets the duty-free allowance and he is transferred the next day to a non-traveling post, what happens?
Oh, you're referring to the duty-free concession.
All right, thanks for that call. Yes.
Oh, that's what you were saying. I mean, I understand that that is a possibility. The guy could be transferred to another. He can actually leave the government. That is an issue. But that doesn't mean that just because there's a possibility that can happen, that you do not look to provide benefits for the member. And
should he be paying that money back if that happens?
Well, what normally happens is when there's a condition that is being, and I think we do have that condition, that when the person leaves, the person pays the duty. Or if he has to sell the vehicle to somebody else, he would have to pay the duty
within a certain
time span. Yes, yeah.
What are the? We have another call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, good night.
This question is to Miss Isaac. I want to find out, in the labor law or the labor rule, do the unions have right to withdraw members during working hours to attend meetings? And do they have the right to strike and demand pay while they're on strike?
Thanks for your question.
Okay. The union has the right to call its members out to meeting whenever it feels that it is necessary. Yes, they do. And in terms of demanding pay, the union is not demanding pay, but the union is hoping that the employer will find it fitting not to cut the workers' pay, because they do have the right to strike.
But also, in addition, when most of the time when we call our members out, we seek permission. We seek permission from the public service for that to happen. And in all the cases that we have called our members out, the public service, the Ministry of the Public Service, did give us permission to have these members at that meeting.
Is it really seeking permission, or just informing them as a matter of courtcy that this is?
Permission.
So if the government says no, you can't have members, would you?
Well, they would have to give their reason, and usually it would be maybe because of the time we are asking for. At which time we would probably reschedule or revisit the time that we are asking for them to be out. Sometimes we ask for members to be out after 3 o'clock. Usually we do after 3 in the afternoon. And, you know, I mean, they never ever have a problem with that. So I do not see that being an issue, because sometimes it is actually for a reason that has to do with some tripartite arrangement with government in some cases. You understand? So that has never been an issue.
Do we have another call on the line?
Yes, good night.
Good evening. Please go ahead with your question.
I'm calling to find out why is in the union and you no longer work with them anymore, and negotiations has been going on and you have been paying your dues. If it's possible that they have to pay your back pay when they are paying out the back pay and you're no longer with them.
All right, thanks for that question.
You're no longer with the union?
If you were employed with the government during the negotiated period and you're no longer with the government, do you qualify for that back pay?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes.
Good evening. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, good evening. I
good
want to find out what's the basis for negotiating increase for your members, and why did you tell the St. Lucian, or why did you make it known in the public that that is the reason for getting an increase for the members? I know the basis is 1, inflation, 2, work performance, but why did the union make it a point that because of that?
Because people will be spending. Thanks for the question. Because people will be spending that money in a VAT environment. Although it is true that it is for the past triennium, whatever you are getting, what you purchase with that money right now has VAT on it. Most of the things you'll purchase will have VAT on it. So you are actually paying VAT on that money. So it has to be factored in.
We have another call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Good night, Clinton, Mr. Pierre, and Miss Mary Isaac.
Yeah, good night, good night.
When will the union, and I of all of you, whether it be CSA, TUF, whatever, take the labor code to its members and discuss it page by page or whatever it is? Because the only thing I heard about the labor code a couple of ago, when they said no work, no pay. Is that all they have in the labor code? I want to know. No, seriously, no. I want to know because I am saying the labor code was passed in August, right? Is it August?
Yes, August.
August
1st.
And we don't hear about the minimum wage. We hear about a number of things in the labor code. So I want to know when you all will take the labor code to the public and explain to your members, because the only time I know about labor code is when you are in party government and the GND saying no to pay.
All right, thanks for that question.
Very good point, very good point. It is something that we always intended to embark on, but as you know, when the labor code came into effect, we also, we were into negotiations. We went into negotiations. So we have been focusing mainly on the negotiations and trying to end the negotiations. Although we had some consultations on the labor code prior to the passing of the labor code. But I must admit that it was not sufficient to educate our members. So it is something that we have to take up in future.
Now, the government had indicated that, no work, no pay. As of Thursday last week, they might have docked wages. Was that a consideration for workers getting back on the job?
Well, since we have not concluded the negotiations, I cannot say for sure that is, but usually it has been, and we do not see that this time around it will not be. Actually, we have every confidence to believe that government now is negotiating in good faith with CSA. We have been reassured that what we put on the table is being looked at, very, very closely, and we have a very good relationship going on right now. This is why we are saying we are postponing our own meeting to Wednesday in order to give the GNT time to meet and have all the discussions they need to have, so that when they come back to us, we will be able to conclude on what they are bringing on the table.
We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
I would like to find out from the executive members there, why is it that they do not do anything for retired civil servants? Although all during their tenure at work, they were members of the CSA. As long as you leave the government service, you just, there's nothing they do for you.
All right, thanks for the question.
Okay, this is a very sad issue. The way that not only CSA, the unions, but the way that even government and St. Lucia in general treat retirees, seniors, and so on and so forth. We are now trying to iron out the issues with the Pensions Act, where public workers, when they leave, citizens, when they leave, they retire at age 55, public servants retire at age 55, and they're not entitled to a pension until about 8 years later, those who do pay NIC. So it is not that CSA is not doing anything for these, for these workers, these members. But I agree with you when you say that why are they not looking out for the interests of the workers? Because when we get salary increases, I believe that those increases should also redound to the seniors who are in the public service. Because they are still workers, retired workers, you understand? And I always thought that whatever we get as CSA used to go down to these people, used to redound to these people as well. I was very, very surprised when I became president of CSA to hear seniors coming up to me and saying to me that they don't get what we negotiate for. So this is an issue that we have to bring on the table, and we have to look at it very closely, because these people, we are using the basis of inflation, VAT, and so on to get a salary increase. These people's dollar is also being reduced in terms of their purchasing power.
Right.
So we have to look at how best we can also assist our seniors, even if they're no longer in the service.
We have another call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, good evening. I'm Quentin.
Yes, thanks for holding.
How are you doing?
Good night.
Okay, just two questions I'd like to ask. Did the match did any penetration, and are the offers still on, or are they going to go back to the table and get some other offer? That's just what I want to know.
All right, thanks.
We believe the match was very satisfactory, especially to the members themselves. It made them feel proud to stand up for something that they believe in. They also showed strength, unity, you know, and togetherness, and that in itself to us is a sort of a victory. And I have already said before that we are still, we have our proposals on the table now as CSA, and we believe that it is a very good compromise position, and we should be hearing from the GNT Monday of next week, and we will be reporting back to the members by Wednesday. So yes, things are still on the table. They are looking very good. We have a very good relationship now with the GNT, and we have every reason to believe that they will come back to us with something satisfactory.
We have another call. Good evening. Please go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello.
go ahead, please, caller.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
And good night, Madam President.
Good night.
And your...
Can you please lower the volume on your set?
Sorry about that. Yes, sorry about that. I thought it was on mute. Oh boy.
Yeah, go ahead, please, caller.
Yes. My problem is that many St. Lucians are asking as to whether civil servants are going to get paid when they didn't work. It is a very sad situation, though. It seems that we are going backward instead of we going forward. People fail to realize what a strike is all about. I don't think many of us are watching our television sets to see when people are really fighting for what they believe in overseas, to see how far they will go and how determined they are. Okay? I suspect many people are trying to kill the union movement in St. Lucia, and we need to be very careful about this. Because if the union movement is dead in this country, we will go exactly where we came from. Okay? And it will not be a good thing for us.
Okay. Do you have a question for the panelists?
The question I have for the panelists is that I would like to find out from the president as to how she thinks things will be, how well she thinks that the civil servants who went back to work will be treated by the employer, which is the government, in fact, the supervisors, and how well, in fact, do she think that the workers will be able to cope at the workplace at this point in time?
Thank you very much.
Well, I know that we have a few, I know that we have very intelligent and bright managers in the public service, some of them, okay? And those managers in the public service who know about the HR, those managers in the public service who climb the ladder step by step and got where they are, I have no doubt that they will know exactly how to treat these public workers, and they will have no problems or issues with these workers because they will recognize that these people stood up for something that they believe in. And these people, most of them are the better workers in the workplace. But we have some managers that got where they are there. They were just placed there. Some of them are political appointees. Some of them have to, you know, they have something to prove. And therefore, they thrive on situations like that, where they try to make the members feel small or feel that they had done something wrong. But CSA will not tolerate that sort of behavior. We will not tolerate any form of victimization to our members. And like the members kept repeating while we had the strike, if you touch one member, you touch us all.
Let me bring the other caller in just before you come in, Wilfred. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Good evening.
Good night.
I'd just like to ask Miss Isaac a question. Miss Isaac, with all that has happened over the last few days, we stick TUF, whatever, all the other unions, that disagreement among them, I am afraid for the future of the trade union movement in St. Lucia. And hearing people talk, you know, I'm very concerned about it. because I love trade unionism very, very much. So what do you think is the future for the trade union movement in St. Lucia?
Thank you very much. Are you afraid for the trade union movement, any of you?
I am not afraid for the for CSA in St. Lucia, as far as I know. And there are some other unions that are standing strong, and they're not even part of all the fiasco that is going on. So I am not afraid for CSA at all. I do not know about the others. But for CSA, we're standing strong, and we are moving on forward as strong as ever, and very united.
You're talking about the NWE when you refer to other unions. Wilfred, you had a point just before we take that other call.
I was making the point that we had a situation where two of our members went back to work and found that there were persons at their workstation, and they reported to us that they were not pleased about it, and the supervisor had indicated to them that they were going to be transferred to another section, and they were not happy about that. We promptly called the supervisor, and we promptly called the supervisor, and they said that was not the case. So what we decided to do, we're having a meeting with the supervisor and the supervisor together with the two persons on Thursday, tomorrow, to iron out that situation, to see whether it's a case that they're being victimized and things. So we're going to lay everything on the table. But the CSA is going to move very swiftly, to deal with situations where persons are going to be victimized. We're not saying it's a situation of victimization. It could be something where the guys will transferred, rightfully so, but we are going to take no stone unturned so that we can deal with situations where you have supervisors want to punish our members just because they took a protest action.
We have another call. Good evening. Thanks for holding. Please go ahead.
Good night to you, panelists.
Hi, good night, sir.
Okay, just a quick thing I want to say there. You see, everybody have their rights in the country, and that's why we are democratic.
Yes.
But what the civil servants did, I mean, that's their right to do what they did. But you see, what I'm against is people, that victimizing people, and that's not nice. Because as the gentleman just said there about the two workers that's in that incident with the supervisors, what I will urge them to do is to read the staff order book, because the book is like a Bible, okay? And they have their rights in there also. So what they need to do, educate themselves in the staff order book, because it's there for everybody, every government worker to see, to go through it, and understand what they read. Because a lot of us, I myself was ignorant in that also. I know how to read it, and I know how to use it. So normally because the supervisors, they know that, they know how to use it. Now, if you as a worker, you don't know how to use it, they'll manipulate you. And you as a civil servant worker, you have your rights also, because people, I don't know. I think it has to do with the wickedness of people's hearts, because they had the right to do that. I'm not against them. You know what I'm saying? So what I suggest, I think these supervisors, what they should do then, instead of they having that problem with those people, I think they should transfer these supervisors.
All right, thanks for that. Thanks for that contribution. Going back to the march and its effectiveness, what was the turnout like, and wasn't the turnout you expected for the march?
Well, the turnout was more than what I expected for the match, given that the rain had started in the morning, and I know some people did not really leave from down the coast to come up, because some people would be being me and saying, "Oh, it's raining, I don't think I'll come," and so on and so forth. So it was quite a lot more than the amount that I was expecting, and it was a very nice match, a very peaceful match, and we should thank the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, because they came out in full colors, and they came out to help us out. They came up inside of the Union Hall and informed us that they were waiting to escort us, and they made sure that the roads were clear, and they stayed with us right through. So I think they did a brilliant job helping us along with that match.
We have another call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if the union is ever considered negotiating on the skill level, whereby the persons in the lower bracket, in the lower scale, get a higher percentage vis-a-vis those in the upper scale, so that you can get a more balance. Because when you look at it, you get in, say, like $1,000, 4% is $40. Does that cover for the VAT and the other increases we're talking about? When you compare it with the person who is getting $6,000.
All right. Yeah, we understand.
So I just wanted to get someone.
Thanks for that question.
Yeah, caller, you're so true. Especially we have grades from grade 1 to grade 5. I mean, you have the police would start from grade 5, and the nurses and the teachers will start from grade 5. But we have grades from grade 1. These persons get $950 a month. And what we are looking for is to look for benefits, and some of the benefits that we're looking for, to have the greater percentage of the benefit goes to the grade 1 to grade 5, and a lesser percentage of the benefits goes from grade 6 to grade 18.
But
so that we're actually looking at that.
But aren't you at the risk of finding yourself in the same situation that you had with the higher grades from 1921, when you increase at a higher rate at the bottom, then they will meet up with the higher grades?
Yeah,
so
but
for
we
example,
did the calculations. We did.
But this is why,
but over time, they will catch up.
But this is why we also look at an allowance and not increasing the base salary.
Right.
Okay.
You understand? So it has no impact on the base.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have another call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes. I would like to ask, based on the fact that the membership voted to remain out, even when the GNT instructed that they should come back into work so that the process could continue, what is the basis on which they agreed to return back to work?
All right, thanks.
Okay. The members agreed to return back to work because they realized at that point that the GNT was serious about not negotiating in good faith, under duress. And the GNT had already extended an olive branch by allowing us to meet with them, although the members were still out, and receiving our new proposals and actually saying they will consider it, although we were still on strike. So we decided to also extend a hand, reach out for that olive branch and ask the members to treat that behavior in good faith, and let us show to that we are meeting the GNT halfway. And the members agreed, and looking at everything else, they decided to go back to work.
Now, going back to another question on the march, I heard you asked that question, or you asked that question, and you downplayed it, that your General Secretary did not march with the union. It would strike me as odd that this would not happen, especially since unions are all about solidarity and standing together. How can the union, or any union, tolerate a General Secretary not marching or taking that stance with the union, that all-important stance with the union?
Well, the General Secretary, the last march, he did not march either.
Yeah, and I heard you say that too.
I have never known in my lifetime, I've never seen our General Secretary march. Although I know that I was told that during the whatever time when they took the tear gas and so on and so forth. But what I'm saying is also he has also advised against any match. The last time he said it was ill-advised. This time he was still saying he's against going out there and match.
And what is the basis for that?
I do not know. Maybe he alone would be able to say.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's the
I don't know why, but he has maintained that position.
I know we're out of time, but I just want to play this clip for you just before we end. Unfortunately, it's not a clip that you gave me, but another clip of Mr. Calix George, a former CSA president, and he was on our newscast earlier this evening. Just run this clip for me so we could hear what Mr. George had to say.
The other thing too is that I thought it was protracted, because you couldn't expect the government to negotiate with you when you're on strike. That doesn't happen. The principles of trade unionism is that you have to negotiate in a peaceful manner. So it was a stupid thing on their part to say that you're not negotiating and you're still going on strike. You can't do that. The solution to my mind is very clear. I mean, you at 4, the other one at 6, so go to the middle, and probably a 5% will be satisfactory to people on both sides. That is what my position is, and I still think that is the position that should be. But of course, they have a right to strike, but I didn't think that it was justifiable at that particular point in time.
Your comments quickly as we end?
Okay, well, people do not realize that there was a period when CSA was not on strike and CSA was posed to negotiate, and CSA was told we are not going to negotiate with you. And this is why they went on strike. So it is false to say that the strike was not justified, as if we didn't just go on strike. But anyway, I want to take those last moments to, and Mr. Alex George is a person that I have a lot of respect for, so I am not going to dispute anything that he's saying there right now, okay? But let me take those last moments to say thanks to all the members who participated, who stood for what they believe in, who stood up for their right, and to Mr. Pierre, who has been at my side right through the whole time, the police, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the members of the different government departments, especially Inland Revenue, Customs, Ministry of Commerce, and a lot of the other departments that I cannot even remember right now. When I started naming them, everybody would come up and say their department, their department. I have to thank our chef. We had a chef who stayed with us throughout the time, and every day he came, he would cook, make sure that the menu for the next day is on, and go get the groceries.
Now, I suspect these are not your last words, because I'm being told we have another call, so that means we're getting a little extra time.
Okay.
So let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, good evening, Clinton, and good evening to your guest.
Good
evening.
I have been following the episode of these strikes and everything else. I know what I would like the Miss Isaac and Mr. Pierre to do is to encourage the members to get a copy of the book Animal Farm. And I think the CSA should also push that this book be reintroduced into our schools, secondary schools for literature.
All right, thanks a lot.
The reason why I'm saying that, too often I've heard during this impasse that people are saying, oh, this can happen this way, this can happen this way. They quote the relevant parts of our history of industrial actions, but now that the shoes are on a different set of feet, things are different. So I over the years, I've been saying we need to bring Animal Farm back.
All right. Thanks for your comment.
Yes, that's a brilliant suggestion.
Yes. I guess we have extended our grace long enough, and I want to thank our technical producer. And you were thanking the chef. I should have passed by CSA sometime.
Oh yes.
Yes,
unfortunately, you can play our clip. That is part of the
he did a very good job stretching the menu, and trying to feed everybody, and getting the fires going and everything else. So my hats off to him. A lot of our brothers and sisters who came up with all the different clips and who kept us going. Brother Malikan especially, and a few others that I would like to name, but I think it's better I leave the names out. But let me say that I have every confidence, Clinton, that our employer is going to do the right thing and has already accepted or recognized that what CSA has done, there was nothing really wrong with what CSA has done. Because we stood up for what was right, we stood up for what we believed in, and now we have a process that is continuing, that is going to end with a lot more transparency than what was going on before. Okay? So again, I want to thank everybody, the media houses that gave us coverage, especially the positive coverage, all the people out there who supported us. I want to thank everyone tonight for all their support.
Yeah, but again, we want to thank you for inviting us here also. It wasn't a very easy road that we had to go through. There was a lot of things that were thrown at us. Some of it was thrown by my very cousin, Claudius Francis, who incidentally is a cousin of mine. But really, we're looking for the rights of workers. That is all that we have been doing, is to try and bring to the fore, bring to the front burner the cause and the plights of workers in St. Lucia. And I think if we had done that, we had done a good thing. And it was a protest that we had to do. And we would have to do it again if the time permits us, or if the situation lends itself for that. We had quite a bit of person that provided assistance to us. The same Alex George would whisper certain things to us, a strategy there. So we really don't have anything negative to say about him. So we really want to thank the number of persons that provided assistance to us and to give us some hold our hands and say, well, you guys are on the right path, and this is what trade union is all about. People forgetting that trade unions was the one that caused a lot of significance for the things that are in St. Lucia today.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank you, the president of the CSA, Ms. Mary Isaac, and Mr. Wilfred Pierre, the second vice president, first vice president of the CSA as well, for joining us here on Newsmaker Live. For those of you who called in, We want to thank you for being part of our show. It's because of you that this show is possible, and those who just viewed as like in every week just to hear what we're discussing. So thank you very much. Just a program note, coming up this weekend, we have the Press Club. Unfortunately, I will not be here for that program, but Earl Bousquet and Keisha St. Helen will be on hand to take you through the latest news developments for the past week. Unfortunately, I have to attend Von Noel's funeral in Grenada, unfortunately, because he has passed and we miss him as a media fraternity. So you'll be in capable hands this weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 8:30, Didier Dolor with Dolor Factor Live, as like every Thursday. Until the next time, I'm Clinton Reynolds. Have a good one.
Sometimes people ask me, why do you support unions so strongly? And I have to ask them, why don't you? It's because of the union movement that we've got to. Sometimes people ask me, why do you support unions so strongly? And I have to ask them, why don't you? It's because of the union movement that we've got a 40-hour work week. It's because of the union movement that we've got the minimum wage. It's because of the union movement that we've got benefits like health care and pensions. It's because of the union movement that we got worker safety laws. Even if you're not a member of a union, you benefited from a union.